So as a real estate professional, one of the key skills that we all need to develop is delivering bad news in a professional and palatable way. And so one type of bad news that as a listing agent you will at some point or another need to deliver is the buyer's agent's offer was not accepted, that their offer was rejected. How do you want to handle that? So there's just a few things in no particular order I want to mention. So first I would say it's really critical. You want to have that communication to the other agent before you change the status in the MLS. So this is particularly important when it's a hot market because you're getting a ton of calls. I think as a listing agent with multiple offers on a hot property, there's a lot of pressure to change it to a pending status quickly because you want to like put the calls off a little bit. And so we'll see people sometimes like, okay, finally got acceptance, and they change it to pending, and then they go about communicating to all the people that didn't get their offer accepted that it wasn't accepted. The problem with this now is that the status will change on all the websites, on Zillow and all these other places. And so sometimes what happens for that buyer's agent when you do that is their buyer who wasn't accepted sees that the property went pending. They call their agent and say, I see it's pending, did our offer get accepted? And of course they were one of, let's say, 20 offers and they didn't really have a chance, but now it creates this kind of awkward and disappointing conversation between that agent and that buyer. And then that buyer's agent is now frustrated with you. Their experience working with you is a less professional one than maybe they would have hoped for. So first off, have the communication with all of the rejected buyer's agents before changing the status in the MLS. Another thing I would say is just be wary of communicating this via text. Of course, a ton of communication does happen via text. It's unavoidable in many cases. However, sometimes letting someone down over text is convenient for you, not necessarily the best look when you're on the receiving end of that. Just be mindful of that. Generally recommend email, or if you're using an offer management system, they'll have their own ways of doing it. Just, I think sometimes you can get less than desirable results when you're doing it over text, at least from our experience. Another thing we would say that I think is beneficial is that a lot of people don't use this. However, there is the space near the end of the RPA at the bottom where you can initial as the listing agent that the offer was presented, and you can list the date. Sometimes this is actually, it's more work for you, but it is nice on the buyer side that you've now given that buyer's agent something to show their client that their offer was rejected. So there's no doubt that it was seen. You've signed and confirmed that it's been seen. And so how this helps the buyer's agent, it helps them with that next conversation. You want to remove doubt for that buyer that your offer wasn't good enough. You need to improve your offer, either the terms, the price, or something else about that offer. So that's actually good for that buyer and that buyer's agent. They have a better chance next time if there's no doubt that their offer was seen. Their offer was definitely seen, it just wasn't good enough, so maybe they'll be better on the next one. So you can actually help the buyer's agent have a better chance of success on the next one by removing any of that doubt. On that note, while we're talking about multiple offers and managing that, for agents that have dealt with this before, they will know this, but if you haven't had a situation with multiple offers, one thing that you really want to think about is just budget the time to deal with this. It is a tremendous amount of time jammed usually into a short period of time. So within a day or two, typically means you have tons of callback, text backs, emails, questions that you're answering, not to mention making sure your offers are complete, organizing them, presenting them to your client, handling counters, often multiple counters, often multiple rounds of multiple counters. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of communication with a lot of people, all of which is time sensitive and all of which is typically like jammed into a few days. If you know you have a property like that coming up and you want to continue to have that good reputation with the other people that you're working with, it's really key that you've carved out and given yourself enough time to really deal with this. It is hard to do competitive offer situation well. It is impossible to do it well if you don't give it the time. That's just a word to the wise, carve out the time when you know that that's coming up. One other thing to really think about whenever you're communicating someone's offer wasn't accepted is a conversation around backup offers. So California has a specific form for a backup offer addendum. We will have a separate video specifically dedicated to backup offers, so you can check that out. But just a reminder that you want to have talked to your seller about would they be open to a formal backup offer? And if so, then you know that that is a part of the conversation you want to have with some of these offers that aren't getting accepted, but maybe they were close. You don't want them to go buy something else right away if the first buyer backs out, so you can actually get them contractually tied in so their offer slides right into escrow if that first place offer cancels for any reason. Sometimes that's a good tool to use. Some sellers don't want to use it. Depending on what the offers are, what the market's like, you may not want to use it, but it's at least worth having a discussion. And if your seller's on board with it, then you do definitely want to work that into your conversation that you're having with some of these agents that are not getting their offer accepted. And also it gives them a chance to have that conversation with their buyer, and generally, sure, they're being rejected, but at least with some consideration, it just helps the overall experience. With that, hopefully that helps. Do check out the other videos in a little bit more depth on backup offers if you're interested, and good luck with those offers. Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful. If you learned something or if this helped you solve a problem, follow me for more.